Madam Mayor, Madam Minister, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Foyle Women's Aid, may I welcome you to this special day of reflection on and celebration of 40 years of groundbreaking outreach work in the field of domestic and sexual violence. Today, with the help of a panel of guest speakers from the statutory agencies who have created lasting and fruitful relationships with Foyle Women's Aid, we'll be celebrating the women who founded it and charting its growth from modest beginnings to its status in the present day, a valued, multifaceted resource, an effective and much respected agency, a very present help in what, sadly, is ever-present trouble. In this city and district alone, domestic abusers are responsible for 1 in 7 crimes that come to court. How many more cases never come to light? Who knows what happens behind closed doors? As Tolstoy put it, every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. To you and me, perhaps, the word home conjures up the reassuring image of a safe haven. For some, it is anything but. Who knows what goes on behind the neat facades of council houses, the Venetian-blinded respectability of privately owned estates, the big suburban houses set back from the road. It's not all shouting, breaking glass, and the police being called. There are victims of quiet cruelty in the most unlikely places. But we've become distant from our neighbours. We mind our own business, preferring to ignore the possibility that that person we see in the street or the supermarket may be suffering in silent misery. Now, you may think this an irrelevance, but my heart sinks when I read the Friday's Child feature in the Derry Journal. For those of you unfamiliar with the paper's format, a local person of note is asked to respond to a series of simple questions. It is amazing and depressing how many male interviewees, some of them quite young, quote The Quiet Man as their favourite film. Now, you may remember the scene in that film where Mary-Kate, played by Maureen O'Hara, runs away and is forcibly brought back by her husband, Sean Thornton, played by John Wayne. When she stumbles and falls, he physically trails her across country before a baying crowd of approving onlookers and encouraged by an old woman who calls, "Mister, mister, here's a stick to beat the lovely lady." Home at last, the camera decently averts its eyes until Mary-Kate emerges from the bedroom, subjugated but simpering, to find her masterful husband seated at the kitchen table shouting, "Woman of the house, where's me tay?" That scene makes me incandescent and incoherent with rage. What does it say that modern men admire such antediluvian tactics in a man's treatment of women and approve of settling male disagreements with fists? Unfortunately, nowadays, our younger men and boys can access at the touch of a button every permutation of extreme violence, sexual perversion, and exploitation of women at will. The troubling rise in incidents among very young teen girls at the hands of casual boyfriends attests to that. In a climate of moral uncertainty, we've lost our grip on our young. Our boys are emotionally inarticulate, our girls too eager to please. How desperate must a woman be to abandon the home she's created, all her possessions, and taking her children, step out into uncertainty, her only baggage a sense of failure, shame, and social stigma. There are women who stay out of love, out of loyalty, out of financial necessity, covering up the bruises and unjustly blaming themselves for failing to make a partner happy. There are women who go back to the drinker, the drug addict, the gambler, the bully, believing their craven apologies, their empty promises that it'll never happen again. But it does, repeatedly, till they reach breaking point. Worse than physical blows or kicks, worse than unreasonable sexual demands or drink or drugs-induced rages, is the insidious undermining of a woman's very self, the manipulative and constant erosion of her confidence and self-worth by the controlling behavior of a partner. Belittled, humiliated, isolated, and totally dependent, she becomes a shadow, a self-doubting, self-blaming, and increasingly terrified shell of herself. Powerless, she sees no escape. Whether domestic abuse be of short or long duration, where children are concerned, there are long-term consequences. Children are creatures of imperfect understanding, witnessing their mother exposed to criticism, ridicule, hostility, fear, adult loss of control, and violence as a resolution to argument. That will haunt them into their adult lives. In a teaching career spanning 35 years in two of the most deprived areas of this city, I saw the effects of domestic abuse on many children. I taught 5 to 8-year-olds, and in their artless way, they revealed much more than their parents would have been happy with. One I remember listening to read. As he turned the page of his reading book, half of the following page was missing. "What happened here?" I asked. "Please, miss, me dad tore it out to light his fag." It's a small thing, but significant. And it was always the mothers I saw, pinch-faced, anxious, worn out with serial pregnancies. Oh, you might see the fathers once a year on parents' night, looking 10 years younger than their wives. Once upon a time, it was legal for a man to beat his wife, so long as he used a stick no bigger than his thumb. I don't know when that came off the statute book. On your behalf, I'd like to dedicate this day of reflection and celebration to the memory of generations of women who suffered domestic violence and accepted it as their lot, because there was neither help, nor hope, nor refuge. How far we have come. How far we have still to go. Domestic violence is a curse that knows no social barriers. For 40 years, Foyle Women's Aid has offered help, hope, and a haven, one safe place.